titles. The impossible dream made possible by the greatest British manager ever, Sir Alex Ferguson.
A reign that has seen off dynasties, outlasted icons, and rewritten English football's expectations. But in May of 2012, for the first time in years, Ferguson was left without the final word. That season, Manchester United had lost the Premier League title on goal difference to Manchester City, snatched in the dying seconds by Sergio Aguero's now mythical winner. And if you know anything about Sir Alex Ferguson, you know he doesn't forget. And he never, ever lets history write the ending for him.
The first time anyone has beat us in goal difference. But that was a change that caused us the league. It won't happen again.
The response came swiftly. United didn't score enough goals the season before, with an 8-goal difference to make up with Manchester City. So in the summer window, Ferguson made one of the boldest signings of his career.
It is the news that Arsenal fans were dreading. Robin van Persie is set to sign for Manchester United.
I'm proud to be here, and I am looking forward to achieve big things with Manchester United.
Robin van Persie, Arsenal's captain, the league's Golden Boot winner, was brought to Old Trafford in a stunning £24 million move. A proven goal scorer in the very same league. Not many had the audacity to pit the best talents from your rivals. But at the time, Manchester United had an unparalleled attraction for players.
So I looked around, and then towards the end of that process, I had two options with City and Manchester United. And Manchester United gave me the best feeling. Sir Alex gave me the best feeling. I really wanted to win.
Alongside RVP arrived Shinji Kagawa from Borussia Dortmund, a clever, technical midfielder whose arrival hinted at a more fluid, flexible style. Originally raising question marks as it didn't seem like a Fergie type of signing. A diminutive number 10 was simply not a type of player United signed, but this would signal a new kind of tactical flexibility. Around the new signings stood a group of players who embodied Ferguson's legacy. Wayne Rooney, now 27, was entering his prime. England's best player, a headstrong but technical wizard who could just as easily fly studs up into a tackle as much as he could rasp a shot from 40 yards. Ryan Giggs, remarkably, was still playing. 39 years old, in his 23rd season, one of the last remnants of the class of '92 legacy, but not the only one. Paul Scholes, who had also retired once, had been quietly brought back. His vision and calmness would prove crucial in tight games. And in goal, David De Gea, a young Spanish keeper who Ferguson was adamant would show the fruits of his labour. All along the squad you could see different eras of the Alex Ferguson dynasty, and leading them out of the tunnel each and every time was the man himself. Stern and cold, but calculating and driven. Ferguson had a point to prove in his swan song. August 20th, 2012, the opening day of the Premier League season. United travelled to Goodison Park to face Everton. It was supposed to be a straightforward start, but football doesn't always follow the script. Marouane Fellaini bullied United's midfield and scored the game's only goal. United lost 1-0. Not ideal. But the season is long, and after a quarter century managing United, Ferguson knew not to panic. After the opening day loss to Everton, United needed a response, and they did just that.
Van Persie!
In the very next game against Fulham, Robin van Persie opened his United account with a beautifully taken goal on his home debut. From that moment it was clear, he had not just came to compete, but to come to win. By September, the Van Persie effect was transforming the team. His movement, confidence, ability to conjure goal from nothing, it gave United an edge that they were missing. A sense of inevitability. RVP and Rooney was yet another classic combination that Ferguson had masterminded, just like the Cole and York of old. Even Rooney's old Dutch compatriot, Van Nistelrooy. But more than Van Persie's brilliance, what defined this stretch was the team's ability to fight back, the comeback kings.
I love those last-minute goals. I must tell you, I love them.
September 2nd, away to Southampton. United trailed 2-1 in the 87th minute. Getting anything from the game looked unlikely, but never impossible. Van Persie had already missed a penalty after trying a cocky Panenka, but he made amends, equalising in the 87th, then rising highest in stoppage time to head in a dramatic winner, 3-2. 3 points, over to you, Man City. Then came Liverpool at Anfield, a fiery emotional match as always, United went behind, but Raphael curled in a stunning equaliser before Van Persie, yet again, delivered the winner from the penalty spot. Another comeback, another statement. It became a pattern, a blueprint. Typical United, typical Fergie time goals. But Ferguson wasn't relying on belief alone. Behind the scenes, he was making subtle changes, testing new systems. In late September, United lost 3-2 at home to Tottenham, their first defeat to Spurs at Old Trafford since 1989. The warning signs were clear.
We're 2-0 down at half time, and we're all over the place.
United was still vulnerable in midfield, too open, too exposed, so Ferguson experimented. He introduced a diamond midfield, narrow, compact and creative. Carrick at the base, Cleverley and Anderson with energy, and Kagawa or Rooney at the tip. It gave United much needed control. As the autumn leaves fell, United began to climb. On November 3rd, they hosted Arsenal. Van Persie scored within minutes, no love lost for his former side. A 2-1 win, sealed with confidence. 3 weeks later, a trip to Villa Park saw United 2-0 down before the hour mark. It didn't matter, they came back. They always came back. Javier Hernandez, the cult hero super sub, came off the bench and turned the match on its head, with 2 goals and a forced own goal. Another 3-2 win. United didn't need to overwhelm you, they just outlast you. And then came December 9th, a score to be settled. Manchester City versus Manchester United. The champions versus the challengers. Ferguson versus Mancini. The noisy neighbours now had bragging rights, with title of champion following them around. United started like a team possessed. Rooney scored twice in the first half. The second, a beautifully placed finish into the far corner. 2-0. City stunned, but they wouldn't stay quiet for long. Yaya Toure pulled one back, then Zabaleta equalised late. The game looked destined for a draw, a gut-wrenching result after so much control. But Van Persie stepped up, glanced at the wall, took a breath, and with the whole of Manchester watching, 3-2, revenge. The red side of Manchester had taken their city and the Premier League lead back. That goal seemed to seriously switch the momentum at Old Trafford. They had proven that they could beat anyone, and had the belief to go all the way. By Christmas, United had built a 6-point lead. Van Persie had 12 goals, the midfield had settled, and the defence was rotating well. Even the goalkeeper, a young David De Gea, was beginning to silence his critics. But perhaps the most crucial element of this was Ferguson never let up. Even when United trailed, even when they struggled, even when others doubted, he kept driving them forward. This wasn't just about winning the league, it was about proving one last time that he could still understand the game better than anyone else. This team didn't just play for the points, they played for him. They dared not to. The new year brought a new rhythm. January 2013. Icy pitches, high stakes, and a Manchester United side that looked unstoppable. They opened the month with a 2-1 win over West Brom, a routine win and an efficient one. Then came the real test. Liverpool at Old Trafford. In matches like this, form disappears, emotion takes over, and once again, Ferguson's team didn't flinch. Van Persie opened the scoring, of course he did. Vidic bundled in a second. Even when Liverpool pulled one back, United held firm. 2-1, another 3 points, and another step closer. They were winning all of the big games put in front of them. The lead at the top grew. First 6 points, then 7, then 9. The chasing pack just couldn't keep up. Demotivating to take over so early that they had the psychological advantage from the get-go. Game week after game week, Robin Van Persie was showing he was worth his weight in gold. Stellar performances week after week. By the end of January, the Dutchman had 18 league goals. He was scoring with volleys, free kicks, with a kind of calm venom that made defenders freeze. He didn't shout, he didn't boast, he just delivered, week in and week out. He was the kind of player Ferguson always craved. Intelligent, ruthless, and completely bought in. February arrived with a kind of eerie calm. United were top of the league, unbeaten in 14 games, and through to the FA Cup 5th round. The football wasn't always dazzling, but it was relentless. And just over the horizon, Real Madrid awaited. The Champions League round of 16. Manchester United versus Real Madrid. The first leg at the Santiago Bernabeu was tense, tactical and explosive. Cristiano Ronaldo, now the face of Real Madrid, scored a towering header, cancelling out Danny Welbeck's opener. It ended 1-1, a solid result. The job was half done. Old Trafford would decide the rest. March 5th, 2013. The theatre of dreams, buzzing with anticipation. United had a plan. For 56 minutes it worked. They stifled Madrid, controlled them. And then it happened.
By Evra. Oh no! Nanny sent off. And Alex Ferguson is staggered.
A high ball, Nanny challenges Arbeloa, foot up, reckless. The referee reaches for a red. Old Trafford erupts in disbelief. Everything seemed to change in that instant, and Madrid sensed blood. Luka Modric curled in an equaliser. Then Ronaldo returned to haunt them, 2-1. In 13 brutal minutes, the dream was dead. It was cruel. Not because United had been outplayed, they hadn't, but because they had done everything right, until the game was taken from them. The days that followed felt quiet, not just in the press, but in the dressing room. For players, fans, even Ferguson himself, the Champions League had always meant something more. For Ferguson, it was the ultimate stage and a trophy that had evaded him far more than he had won it. Just 2 wins for Manchester United in 26 years. So now they had to go full throttle domestically, and in the Premier League, the lights were still on. March became about focus. The Champions League had slipped away, so had the FA Cup, after a replay defeat to Chelsea. All that remained was the league, and United clung to it like a final lifeline. Like a mission. They ground out wins. 1-0 against Reading, 1-0 at Sunderland, Carrick, Rooney, Vidic. Players were stepping up. Every point mattered. In his body language, in the tunnel glances, in the pauses during interviews, the end was coming. And the team knew it. They just didn't know how soon. As March turned to April, Manchester United were in full control. The league didn't lie. They were 13 points clear of Manchester City. The football wasn't always explosive. It didn't have to be. This wasn't about flair anymore, it was about finishing the job. The win at Sunderland was a perfect example. A scrappy 1-0, the same scoreline that last season's heartache had occurred. April 8th, the Manchester derby. A chance for City to claw back some dignity, and perhaps to delay the inevitable. It wasn't United's finest night. They fell behind, equalised through a Vincent Kompany on goal, but eventually lost 2-1 to a slicker, sharper City side. The league champions were not going to go down without a fight. Ferguson, as always, deflected the loss. He focused on the bigger picture. United was still 9 points clear. The finishing line was still in sight. All they had to do was follow the plan. And just 2 weeks later, the moment arrived. April 22nd, 2013. Old Trafford, Manchester United versus Aston Villa. 3 points would win the title. And the script couldn't have been written more perfectly. Robin van Persie, the man Ferguson had brought in to deliver the title, scored a hat-trick in the first half. His second, a stunning volley from a lofted Rooney pass, was perhaps the goal of the season, maybe even the decade. Old Trafford erupted, the title was sealed. United once again were champions of England. 20 league titles, 13 under Ferguson, his 38th and final major trophy, though no one knew it just yet. That night, Ferguson didn't even hint at any kind of a departure. There was no dramatic announcement. No emotion in the press room, just quiet pride. A job done. But those close to him, the players, the staff, began to notice things. He wasn't planning the next season. He was closing this one. And then, on May 8th, the truth came out.
Arguably sport's most successful coach, Sir Alex Ferguson, has announced his retirement as manager of soccer giant Manchester United.
Sir Alex Ferguson had announced his retirement. After 26 years at the club, he would step down at the end of the season. A massively successful era that put Manchester United on the map as one of the biggest clubs in world football, all thanks to one man. And now he was bowing out on his terms. It had to come at some point, but it was still a shock to all the sport. May 12th, 2013. Ferguson's final match at Old Trafford, a 2-1 win over Swansea, almost irrelevant. What mattered was what came after, the guard of honour, the sea of red and white, the sound of a stadium saying goodbye. Perhaps more hopeful than commanding, that the fans would give his successor the same patience as they had with him.
Your job now is to stand by our new manager.
The next guy wouldn't be so lucky. May 19th, 2013, the final match of the season, and the final match of Sir Alex Ferguson's career, West Bromwich Albion versus Manchester United at the Hawthorns. There were no stakes, the title had already been won, so it was time to give the fans a show, because this wouldn't be a quiet goodbye. In classic Ferguson fashion, the match defied all logic. United went 3-0 up inside half an hour. They were flying, confident, cruising. But West Brom struck back. Goals flew in from both sides. So by the 86th minute, it was 5-5. It wasn't tidy, it wasn't tactical, it was theatre. The kind of match that summed up not just a season, but a career. Because if there's one thing Ferguson's United always were, it was unpredictable.